Okay, so this is the idea with this tube. Obviously, well, all four tubes. They're going to have this 90 here with this fitting going right into the distro. Even this one, which is eventually going to go here, this flow meter. And right here, it's going to have a 90. So that's the idea. Really clean, straight lines. I was going to do some really unique bends and go around the ram, like I spoke about earlier. Kind of go up, around, and then back, and then in. But that was going to be really expensive when you're talking about $10 a fitting. Or it would have been a pretty difficult bend. You know, so even if you do the first bend correctly, and then the second bend correctly, if you do the third bend incorrectly, you have to scrap the entire thing and start over again. Luckily, this PETG tubing is relatively inexpensive. I do want to say one thing about these fittings. They're kind of cheap. These Bi-Ski fittings are phenomenal. I really enjoy these. These have this O-ring. They don't have the traditional O-ring. They have this that slides on the tube. Try to do this with one hand. And then you just put the compression fitting over it and screw it tight, and that's it. You don't have to deburr the edge to make it clean, scuff it so it grips, because you deburr so you don't rip up the O-rings inside these fittings. Let me open up one of these traditional fittings and show you. Again, trying to do this with one hand, sorry. Let's see if I can do this. So these traditional fittings, they have 1 to 3 O-rings inside, and then this O-ring tightens down on the tube to create a seal. What I really dislike about these fittings is when you're pushing them in, you don't know if they're in or snug. It's really difficult. I'm sure over time you get a feel for it, but even right now, I don't know if these are in or not. And I feel like I can pull these out if I tried hard enough. Whereas these fittings, you have to put a lot of torque on it. I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but you really have to pull for the tube to pop out. I really like the grip, but they're really cheap. So like a set of 6 of these are from EK water blocks. They're heavy, they're nickel plated. 6 of these is around 40 bucks, where I think I got a 4-pack of these for $20, I want to say. Anyways, just my 2 cents. I'm going to continue to use them. They have great reviews as far as being leak proof, which is the most important thing. But it is like a little bit of a cheaper, really lightweight metal. Whereas this is heavy, very heavy. Anyways, yeah, that's it for now. Okay, it's finally here, the last component. And you need this to basically put everything together as far as your water cooling loop. Of course, you can use a reservoir, but I like the distro plate aesthetics and whatnot. So this is the Lian Li G1. I'm gonna go ahead and unbox it and show you all the features. Okay, let's try to do this with one hand. I doubt I'll be able to. Okay, one nice thing about EK is they're a top tier company with water cooling. They're a little bit more expensive, but you kind of get what you pay for. And when you're talking about lots of components inside your computer and water or coolant swirling around, you don't want to cheapen on anything water cooled related. So yeah, here's the distro plate. Let's see if I can get through this real quick. Okay, what comes with it? They give you all, of course, all the mounting hardware and even an Allen key, 2 Allen keys. Got the pump and all the distribution ports. So I'll explain the flow a little better once it's everything's hooked up to it, obviously. But yeah, you have your top radiator to top radiator, and that feeds into bottom radiator to bottom radiator. And then this goes out, this goes to the pump, this goes to the GPU, out of the GPU back into here, and then it's stuck in this chamber, and then the coolant then goes from here to the CPU, and then out of the CPU back into this chamber, and then it goes back into the top radiator. Gets cooled in here, down to the bottom radiator, gets cooled even more, and then it fills in the big reservoir. This is the fill port. This is also the bleed, so if I need to drain it. And here's the drain. So fill port and drain. And the drain I'm going to be installing, if I can find it. Oh, it's in my case. I don't know if you can see it. That's another little EK drain valve. So yeah, I'll go ahead and install it and hopefully fill it up with no leaks. All right, thank you. So I think I have an idea now what I want to do. I have all the sleeved combed cables set the way I want. What I did here is I just took some 12 wire combs and cut 4 off of them. So the 4 and the 4 go into 8. I still have enough clearance for this run, this pipe. And yeah, it really runs into no problems, and I can move it a little if I need to. Got lots of play either way, no big deal. So it'll actually sit under that. I've scrapped the idea of having this in line right here with these fittings, and another 90. I just worry that it's going to be too much weight for the GPU. I mean, there's already an issue of GPU sag. That's why you have these really rigid black back plates on them. To stiffen them, you have 2 screws here, and in the back, which you don't see, you have this, I can't really describe how it works. Anyways, it just makes it a lot more, you know, level. However, over time, they can sag. And I worry with fluid, and this thing right here weighs about 2 or 3 pounds because it has the EK fittings on them. And then I'm gonna run it into another 90. That's heavy. And then I just worry that this is too much. I put all the fittings and bends that and I put them on the motherboard. I don't know if this is a true way of gauging it, but it just seemed like a bit much. So what I'm going to do is that these 2 90s coming out and going into the distro plate, on this far one, I'm gonna have just a little, this is where I'm gonna have the flow meter. So you see it from the front, and that'll look kind of nice. I saw another build where they had something similar. So yeah, and then just 2 90s into the distro plate. I have all 4 of my tubes, rough measurements, because I know I'm gonna have to probably take a few millimeters off. I really don't know where the distro is gonna line up exactly. So, but that comes in tomorrow by 9 p.m. and hopefully I'll be uploading a finished video with the fluid I'm gonna have in it. The fluid, I chose a navy blue, only because it was the only one in stock. I think I want like a neon green or a red or something like that, you know. I just think that would look a little cooler, you know. Anyways, so that's it for now, and hopefully next video you'll see a running system. Bye for now. So update, it's bittersweet because I got my loop working, But I had issues last night with my video card. I had artifacting on the screen, and I took it all apart, drained my loop, took these pipes out, pulled my video card, took the water block off the video card, changed the thermal pads, made sure it was making contact with the cold plate everywhere, especially the memory, because that's where I was getting the issue. It seemed like the VRAM was overheating. That's where I was getting the artifacting. And so I put on new thermal pads. I didn't over torque the screws. And I took out these. I noticed these black washers were kind of still glued to the board. I took those out and just used the clear washers that came with the water block, but they said that it's okay to keep these on. And now I'm not even posting, so when I turn this thing on, again, everything works except my video card. I'm definitely getting fluid flowing. That's my flow indicator. It'll get going. I don't have all the fluid in there, and I'm not creating a really tight enough vacuum for it to really spin, but water is at least flowing. That at least tells me that it's moving. Because it's not a heat issue, because in the BIOS, I noticed my processor is running at 27 degrees Celsius. That's a 20-degree drop from a stock cooler, or the even the AIO I was using, I never got below 35 degrees, and it's running 27 degrees. So yeah, I'm definitely pro water cooling, but I'm not a fan of this GPU water block. I think I might have fried my $760 video card. So I'm gonna have a long RMA process of getting that returned. And I'm gonna do one more experiment though. I'm gonna take the video card out of the loop. I'm just gonna close these loops, the video card loop, and just make a 180. So it's just a closed loop. Just gonna take this and loop it. And then close anything that has to do with the video card, just basically this loop. And I'm still gonna use the bottom radiator, I'm still gonna use the top radiator, and I'm still gonna use the CPU. So that plumbing will stay, but then I'm gonna put on the stock shroud and fans on the video card and see if I can get it to post that way. That's my last hope. Other than that, I'll have to put in another video card and make sure that it was indeed the video card, which I know it is, because I get this little white light up here that's saying VGA issue, the motherboard code. And with the artifacting and everything else, I know it's the video card. I just don't know if when I put the water block on, if it didn't make contact and it overheated and burned out the RAM. I don't know if the thermal pads are smushed up against it properly. I really don't know what it is. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'll give you an update soon enough.